Dear ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Digital Savages Challenging the Status Quo podcast with your host, Amir Sabirovic. Happy New Year, everyone! May 2021 be the best year of your life with an abundance of health, laughter, and love. Now, back to the episodes. In the previous episode, the challenger of the status quo was Gary Turner, and here is a short part of our conversation.
Hopes, fears, like truly knowing yourself as a whole human being, that's success. Because from that flows everything else. Good relationships, healthy relationships, the ability to challenge healthily, to hold two opposite polarized views without having to go on either side. So for me, that's what success is really showing up as a whole person and knowing yourself. What that feels like is freedom. But it's not freedom without challenge. So it's freedom and resiliency is how it feels.
Are you curious about the rest of Gary's story? I surely advise you to go one episode back and listen everything he has to say about finding himself, be true to himself, and of course corporate life and entrepreneurship. For now, let's tune into our next guest and kick this year off with an amazing speaker. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Challenging the Status Quo. Today, I have the founder of Sonsoles Alonso Global Teams. She's international team and business transformation consultant, and she is Sonsoles Alonso, and I would like to welcome you to the show. Thank you for being our guest.
Thank you for having me, Amir. This is really an honor because when I heard you talk during an AI talk in Amsterdam, I thought this is the most interesting person in town, in the whole of Amsterdam.
I'm blushing here.
No, but I've gotten to know you better also through your LinkedIn post, also through other episodes of the podcast, and your work is mind blowing. And I have the feeling that I have found a sort of brother. That sounds a bit strange, but I think you know what I mean.
I get you totally. It's Sonsoles, and thank you very much. I mean, I really appreciate it, and I appreciate your time because that is the most valuable asset that we have, and you're sharing that today with me or with our audience. Hey, can you tell us a bit about your background and how you got where you are right now? Your journey as a person, as a professional.
Yeah, well, since the title of your podcast is Challenging the Status Quo, maybe I should say that I was doing that already as a kid. And at home with my parents, at least, because I had a certain way of looking at society, a religion, a relationship. So my dad used to say, Sonsoles, you're always trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. And but I must say that even though I challenged the status quo at home, I was back then, quite a good girl. And I studied hard. And I went to regular school, of course, but also to the conservatory from a very young age. I started to study the piano professionally. So I was a very busy kid. I basically didn't have a normal childhood or even a normal life as a young woman. But so I got good grades, and no one was concerned about me challenging the status quo because I was doing well out there at school. But the magic happened when I went to New York, and I was very young when I graduated from my master's degree. And this was the moment when one of my teachers, Niels Wegeland, he asked Sonsoles, what do you want? And this was a very important question for two reasons. There are two important words in there, you, and what do you want, Sonsoles? Because up until then, I have been doing everything that my parents and my peers and my teachers wanted. But the other important word was want. And wanting is, as I see it, very connected to the heart. And so that was a very powerful question. Sonsoles, what do you want? So this was a teacher who taught me how to analyze music written by living composers. And when he asked me this question, I said, I want to play contemporary music. And he looked at me and he said, well, then you have to go to Amsterdam. So I came to Amsterdam. And in Amsterdam is when I became a professional status quo challenger because I started doing everything with pianos that was not supposed to be done to pianos. I started working with electronic. I started collaborating with composers, and which meant that we co-created our compositions. It was not anymore the composer who was, the micromanager who decided everything that needed to be played, but I also had a role in that creation, and the same thing with my other colleagues. And I also, I have been told my whole life, Sonsoles, if you are good at what you do, someone will knock on your door and you'll do great professionally. And that wasn't true. So what I discovered in Amsterdam was that next to being a performer, I also needed to create a market for me. So I basically had to go out, promote myself, build networks, and basically do everything that my father told me not to do.
You weren't really fitting in.
No. But coming to Amsterdam was like an incredible gift because, as I said, I could become a professional status quo challenger. And so I did a lot of, innovative and pretty amazing projects with other colleagues who were like me. And then I changed. This is a very long answer, by the way.
That's supposed to happen. So
okay. But then I challenged that status quo again when I decided to build my consultancy and apply everything that I had learned in the arts to teams and organizations. Like the arts, that scene, they could not believe that I had done it. How you dare to, cross that kind of border? But I did it, and now I help teams and organizations also collaborate in the same way as modern musicians. And I don't mean just collaborate in order to put together a performance, in this case a business performance, but to collaborate to create business opportunities. So to give you an example, when I am working with a client, I will have, for instance, different stakeholders together, like the investors, the development team, and the client, and together we work systemically on developing the solution that needs to be developed. So that kind of stakeholder thinking that comes really from the arts, and it goes against this silo thinking that is common in organizations. Yeah, that's it. I would say this could have been the short answer, by the way. The reason why I've always challenged the status quo is because I was born with a bias towards seeing what doesn't work and seeing how it could work, what needs to happen in order for it to work. And I do that from a place of wanting to be helpful, of wanting to advance, the people and the clients that I come in contact with. And I have learned that is not a very common mindset. So if you solve problems in that way and with that, intention of being helpful, then you're a bit of an odd bird, actually.
A misfit.
Yeah, a misfit. Yeah, exactly.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
It takes you have to be odd to be number one, they say.
Yeah. And I decided to put it on my LinkedIn profile, and so I don't want to have the conversation anymore. I am a misfit. Yes, I own up to that. That's fine.
Yeah, you should be proud of it. You should be proud of it. There are not a lot of misfits. Most people are conditioned. Hey, Sonsoles, I really find it amazing. If I understand you correctly, and I know this for a fact because you've showed them to me, but for our audience, your job, or actually your passion, or what you're doing, is you're composing a symphony of an organization. Can I say it like that?
Yeah, I love it.
So you use the methods and methodologies and processes from art, from orchestrating to playing music on various instruments, and you apply the same way of thinking to the organization.
Yeah, because look, in the contemporary music, we use something that is called a graphic score. And basically, with a graphic score, you work together with all your ensemble players and also with stakeholders in order to put together a production. And when you look at these graphic scores, they are basically a systemic tool. Yeah, so the graphic score is a systemic tool, a grid, a flexible grid for music. But I make these grids now for teams. And sometimes I get to work with an entire team and their leader, if it is a very brave one. But as I said, systemic means also that I work with all stakeholders at the same time. Because if you are developing a product today, for instance, it needs to work for everyone. You are only successful as a business if everyone that that product is interacting with is going to work for everyone. So yeah, basically I'm doing the same work as in the arts, except that now I am working with teams. But a team and an ensemble is the same thing. And a composer and a leader is also pretty much the same thing. So yeah, it's the same and it's different at the same time.
So it's not a consultant, you're just an international team and business transformation artist.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I struggle with the word consultant because consultants have a very bad rap. But I use this word because, I mean, you need to create a connection with your prospects. But I look forward to stop using it because I'm finding something better.
Yeah, so a webcaster or a podcaster 10 years ago, you didn't have that. There was no profile for that. Neither was a transformation artist. So I think you would raise some questions. What does a transformation artist do? Well, you have your story ready.
Sure, I might consider that, but I must say I'm going to share something with you. I transitioned careers because in my heart I knew that there was more than one profession inside me. But the truth is that at the time when I transitioned, the arts were collapsing in the Netherlands, and both politicians and society at large, they were really bashing artists. And as I see it, it was really character assassination. That was very traumatic for me because I had all this rich experience from the arts, and I saw how all of the VUCA problems had a solution in the contemporary art. So this was, so to speak, my gift to the world. I was looking forward to sharing this. And yet every politician in the country and a large part of society were banging against them. So for a long time, I hid my past as a musician. I adopted this word consultant and even worse terms than this one.
Oh, you went from your challenging the status quo. Oh, you
it happened. Well, it was a matter of survival. When there is so much emotional violence in the world, sometimes you have to take this approach. But I have been lucky to meet mentors who are making me, come back to life, so to speak. So stay tuned because there is quite a bit going on in my life and in my work. So I'm looking forward to unveiling more of the person that I truly am, because I now feel that the time is there to do that. But it has been quite a journey, I must say. Yeah. The world can be a terrible place.
Is there something that you wish you knew at the start of your career? What would you advise yourself? What would you advise that round peg that was trying to fit in a square hole? If you could go back to her,
I would just have a conversation with her face to face and say, look, this is unusual, but it is special and it is useful. So just cherish it and build the relationships that will support you in order to express this way of being. And I would also tell her it's okay to have more than one profession. This specialization that we see in the world, that's really not the absolute truth. And not everyone is like that.
That's the conditioning, right? That's, that means that you are abided to be a slave for the rest of your life because you can't do anything else. While I believe that we discussed this, but there is Polymath, right? I don't know if you...
Yeah.
So we are not designed to do only one thing and be great at one thing. We can do multiple. But if somebody conditions you and convinces you that you can only do one thing, and so is the society is built like that,
Yeah.
You can't say, well, I'm a consultant, but I also am a house doctor on the weekends.
Yeah.
So everybody would start looking odd to you. What?
Yes.
So this is also the perspective of the world.
Yeah, it's exactly what you say. It's conditioning. It's not the truth. I think polymaths. I think there is a momentum now for coming out as a polymath, and at least I'm meeting more and more of them. So
I'm so happy about that. I'm so happy. I hate doing only one thing. It's so boring.
yeah, exactly.
It's like saying to an artist, you can only play one instrument.
Well, actually, it's interesting you give this example, because if you look at classical music, I mean, I was classically trained. Classical institutions are very much like corporations. You are only allowed to play one instrument, one and only. And if you make a mistake, God forbid, because that will be the end of everything.
So boring.
Yeah, so the contemporary arts were for me really coming to Amsterdam was a blessing for me. I would have never discovered the person I am in other places, because I could embrace, everything that I was. And
You were set.
yeah, I had the right mirroring. There were other people who were encouraging me and who were doing experiments with me, and who had that same attitude of wanting to be helpful. Artists are generous. The world is not aware of that, but everything an artist does is from a place of generosity. So so for me, Amsterdam has been an incredible playground.
And giving this journey and sort of awakening to be the person you truly are. Is there, I question this as, what is your biggest failure? But it's only a failure if you didn't learn from it. But what is your biggest aha or learning moment, if you may, where you hit your head very hard and said,
well, let me start by saying that I have failed a number of times. Yes. But I have also learned every single time. Sometimes I've had to go very deep, but I am keen on doing that. So I've always used it to learn. But my biggest aha moment, I think there have been a couple of them, but the most important one, especially when you are a misfit, as you say, the most important one is the power of networks, the power of relationships. I think that is the most important thing in life, but also in business, is to build those networks that will support you, that to surround yourself by the people who see you. And even if you are challenging the status quo and you come over as some kind of disruptor, you need your friends who mirror back to you that is okay. And so I would say that the importance of relationships.
and did you find this out on your own, or did somebody help you on this journey? You mentioned a mentor, but was it only a mentor, or?
I have had several mentors who I am eternally grateful to, and but I have had an interest in self-improvement already since I was a little girl. So I have read many books. I have followed many programs. I have read the whole of the internet, of course.
You got it in book form. Yeah, I want the internet in book form. Please send it to me.
No, so I'm always looking for information, but there have been key people in my life who has been extremely important. I mean, that teacher in New York who said, "Sonsoles, what do you want?" That was a big lesson in follow your heart, which sounds kind of corny, but the word "want" really means, what brings you alive. Go to Amsterdam if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, not what does the world want from you, but what do you want from the world?
Yeah, but since we are talking about learning, and I would say it's and because there have been moments when I have struggled with the question, what is my profession supposed to be? And I am now asking the world, I know that I can be everything at the same time, but I am also asking the world, what does the world need from me? So I think it's you need to look at it from both sides, and then you are less stressed out about am I doing the right work? Is there anything else I should be doing? And it's like, okay, tune into the world and see what it wants to bring forth, and combine both. It's a less stressful way of living.
True. Hey, and where do you get your inspiration from? What inspires you?
The one thing that brings me to life every single time, it doesn't matter how I feel, is contemporary art in general, but especially contemporary paintings. If I go to a museum of modern art and I spend a few hours there, actually, from the moment I set foot in a museum of modern art, then I feel the expansion. I feel whole again and full of life to go out and do things. I'm a very visual person, so color and abstraction and
Yeah, I got it already. Everything that the consultant is not.
Yeah, there is something really wrong with that word. I need to find a better one.
Yeah, I believe I cannot recall the right quote, but it was the consultant is the guy that sends you to hell in such a way you can't wait to go on journey.
I am not that person.
I know. Hey, is there something that you would like to leave to the
Yes,
world?
that is actually the question that I am asking myself right now. I feel very strongly that I need to leave some kind of legacy, and I am not sure yet what it is, but I think it has to do with solving big problems of the world, of advancing people and burden people, and organizations and then groups in general, so that they can move forward with lightness. There is something a client told me once, which I cherish very much. She said, "You are the one who brings." Peace and lightheartedness into a team, and I think that my legacy, if I manage to realize it, is going to be about that. I want people to take themselves, their work very seriously, but themselves not so much. And I would like to solve one big problem, but I don't know which one it's going to be.
It will come to you. It will come to you. But I believe that's a great goal to inspire. It's again paying it forward instead of taking it.
Yeah.
What I hear.
Yeah.
And where does your curiosity go now, today, at the moment?
I am doing a lot of Qigong, for instance. I am learning to look in between the things and in between the people and the things, and learning to connect with energy and, be more embodied. I think our bodies are just amazing machines. And especially now, when there is so much uncertainty, the body always knows. I am curious about energy. I'm curious about the transformation of energy through the body. I am curious about creation and about intuition. And the body is really our GPS, I think, in fact. So everything related to energy is one of my current things. And another one is how to combine all of the things that I am good at into a persona that can communicate with the world in a good way.
Understandable way.
Exactly.
And now, totally different thing. If I could give you the possibility to either dine with 3 people alive or dead, or I give you the possibility to go to 3 time periods of your choice, you can go back and forward.
Oh, dining. Oh, yes. Dining is awesome. Yes, I like that. Dining.
You're thinking about that chocolate cake. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a big cooking day with my husband today, indeed. Okay, so dining, alive or dead. Yeah, so I think 3 is not enough, but I would love to dine with you. Actually.
That's an easy one. When the corona is over, we're going to do that.
And there is a man, he died already. His name was Harry Spanay. He's a Dutchman who revolutionized both the bass clarinet internationally, but also the world of the contemporary music. And I had the joy of playing in his ensemble when he was a conductor. And this person he had so much energy. He was so inspirational. He would show up every single day with a ton of enthusiasm. It didn't matter what had happened, during his day. If we made a mistake, he would say, enjoy the mistake, improvise around it, make it even bigger, make it beautiful. I would love to. He had so many stories to tell also. So you and Harry, and probably my former teacher from New York, Niels Vigeland, who said, "What do you want?" I would like to take a fourth one. But,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Challenge the status quo.
So probably a painter. The one that comes to mind now is Julian Schnabel. He makes huge paintings full of color. I think that would be a pretty great crowd to dine with.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell what was the name of the guy that always paints this painting. He also painted the painting that shredded itself.
The painting that shredded itself. Yes. Banksy.
Banksy, yes.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to mention him, but because nobody know who he is, right? So that would be awesome to dine with the real person that is.
Yeah.
Hey, is there something I should have asked you, but I didn't? I'm only asking easy questions, as you can see.
You have asked me a lot of things about profession, about my youth, about what makes me tick, about what my curiosity goes out to. I'm not sure. I must say a lot of people ask me always work-related questions and not so many about who Sonsoles the person is.
That's much more interesting.
So perhaps, any question about Sonsoles the person would be fine. Yeah.
I believe we covered that in total, right?
Yeah, sure.
So I did ask you everything I had to ask. You're not missing anything. Hey, so Sonsoles, it was really awesome talking to you. Of course, I need you to summarize everything that we have been talking about for over half an hour, and put it into a key takeaway you would like to share with our audience. So what is your key takeaway for our audience?
My key takeaway from talking to you today and from having followed you on social media and other podcasts is that you never know where you're going to find your brothers.
Totally agree.
But I must say, now that I said this, there is a question that you didn't ask me, and that perhaps is important considering the times that we are living in today. And it is there is a lot of talk about collaboration, and not so much about collaboration when it comes to business. And I believe that successful businesses today, moving forward, will be those who manage to be very strategic about their partnership. And there is something about artists that I didn't tell you. Everyone goes to a concert and sees a production, and they think, okay, these people have collaborated musically. But there is something unknown about artists of contemporary music, is that we also create markets. Right? You need to be very strategic, because let's say you're in the Netherlands, you want to give concerts in the Netherlands, but also abroad. And you need a strategy for that. Now, the single most important thing that is going to open doors when you are playing an ensemble is a composer. And another one is the players. So let's say that you're in the Netherlands, you want to play in Germany. So you're going to ask a German composer living in the Netherlands to write for your ensemble, because you know that a German composer is going to open doors in Germany. And the same thing with your ensemble players. You will have different nationalities in your ensemble, because you know that these people will open up other networks in other countries. Whereas everyone looks at an ensemble and thinks, hey, all of these musicians have been hired because they are good at playing the piano, the violin, whatever. In truth, there is a lot of strategy behind it. Of course, people need to be good at what they do, but you are also thinking, okay, what are my goals for the future? So you will ask certain composers from certain countries to write for you, or you will hire certain people for your ensemble. So basically, you are creating networks all of the time that will open doors for you. And when you do that, let's say, you are in the Netherlands and you are from Australia, and you live here for many years, and one day you go back to Australia. And one day you go like, you know what, I'm going to start a program around Dutch composers, right? So something very interesting will happen, and that is your former friends in the Netherlands will be watching you, on social media, and they go like, oh, he's doing that in Australia. So what we're going to do here in the Netherlands is start a program around Australian composers. So you have two networks in two different countries creating possibilities for each other, because that all of that happening that at the same time will motivate curators to program your concert, but will also motivate investors, like for instance public funders or sponsors, to also invest in your production. So when you look at a modern ensemble, it is not just skill in terms of the instrument that is important, but it is also a skill of strategic thinking, so that you can grow and you can create.
So it's an ecosystem.
It's an ecosystem. It's like an ensemble is a little system. It's a little network, but it expands by creating more networks. And because there are so many nationalities involved, it just happens at a very large scale. And that creates momentum for everyone to become successful. So musicians, at least the ones who play contemporary music, are really very astute when thinking about strategies and about growth. And I believe that today the companies that will be successful will be those who are equally strategic and equally intelligent about who they partner with. Let's say that you have, you make an electric vehicle, right? And for business people. And that means that these people don't need to fly anymore. So perhaps you could partner with certain hotels so that this business person starts experiencing the hotel experience already while in the car. I don't know, I'm just improvising something. So I believe that that being strategic about who you decide to partner with will make you successful. Or another thing could be repurposing what you do and putting it applying it to a new context. I saw, for instance, in YouTube a very fun performance of Bach's string aria played on a string underwear instead of string instrument. So my question to many businesses today is: can you do what you are doing in a different context, or can you bring something from a different context into what you are doing today? So
that would mean challenging their own status quo.
Yes. Exactly. So, but I believe this is the way to success today.
I agree with you fully. You have to kick your own ass if you're in a comfort zone.
Yes.
And that goes for businesses as well.
Yes. Yeah.
I do have to repeat my question again for you. So when you summarize from that little girl being a round peg trying to fit in a square hole, I need your piece of advice, your peace of mind when you summarize your career and your experience for our audience. That is your key takeaway.
Okay. I would say persevere, and that's the way. Life is tough, business is tough. You have to reinvent yourself all the time, and the only thing that's gonna, get you through is perseverance and building the right relationships. But I would say perseverance is really the most important one. In a nutshell, that's my life. Perseverance, no matter what.
I think that's a beautiful key takeaway. So, Sonsoles, it was really a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for sharing all your insights. And I look forward to that transformation arc, to see more of that.
Well, thank you for mirroring that back to me and giving me permission to do that. I just might just do it.
Just do it. Yeah, it's almost like a commercial.
Okay.
Thank you. Have an awesome week.
Thank you. You too. And I look forward to meeting somewhere else.
As soon as this is over.
Dining.
I will come back to that appointment as soon as the restaurants are open again.
Okay. See you.
Thanks. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much for listening, dear ladies and gentlemen. This was Sonsoles Alonso, and I hope you enjoyed her story. Join me next week, where the challenger of the status quo is Nerko Hadji Arapovic. Nerko has his background in music and has been touring with one of the greatest hip-hop artists of the Netherlands. But before I go and spoil it all for you, here's a short part of our conversation.
Yeah, I can. When I got back from Silicon Valley, although I was just there for a month, I was really inspired to do something about it. A good friend of mine, Dado, I don't know if you know him. He's a IT architect. He's actually a software architect. And we ended up talking about new technologies. He was doing a master artificial intelligence back in the day, like 2011, which is also way back.
Are you curious about the rest of Nerko's story? Tune in next week and hear everything he has to say about touring with a band, education, and applying artificial intelligence for the music industries. For now, this was Challenging the Status Quo podcast, Season 2, with your host, Amir Sabirovic. Stay safe and healthy, and until next week, ciao!